Push P. Yeah, push P. Turn me up. Turn me up, P. Corners in the paddock, get my piece. Push P. Cop new hammers for my P. We don't want no.
Hello, wonderful people of YouTube. My name is Cree, and thank you so much for clicking on my video. This is my first video, y'all. I'm so excited, a little nervous, a little anxious. I'm feeling all the feelings, but I just can't wait to see what this channel has in store for me in the future, whether it takes me far or whether it don't take me past the driveway. We gonna see what happens on this journey, and hopefully y'all will be here with me along the way. But enough with the mushy stuff. Let's get down to business. I know why y'all here. Let's talk about Brian McKnight, or what I like to say, the artist formerly known as Brian McKnight, because as we all know, he's been in these blogs quite a bit lately, and the latest thing that's going on is that he has legally changed his name to match his infant son's name. I don't want to butcher his name as it is now. Brian Kanoa Makoa McKnight Sr., and his baby's name is McKnight Jr., but we're going to get into all that in a little while. But like I said, he's been in the blogs quite a bit lately, over the past few years, really, in regards to the ongoing drama that's been going on between him and his family, namely his older biological children. Looks like that it's been pretty rocky, tumultuous, and pretty much at this point non-existent. What made me even want to talk about this again, because I actually did talk about it briefly in a reel that I did a month ago in regards to this name change. But the day before Thanksgiving, a channel that I follow by the name of the Do Better Podcast, shout out to Theo Coop, he did a reaction video. Well, he did a live stream, and part of the live stream was that he was reacting to a video from another fellow YouTuber by the name of The Angry Man. Shout out to The Angry Man. I just got up on him not too long ago. And he talked about the black population, namely the black women, are all very upset at him for not only for how he's treating his children, but for the fact that, you know, he has the black children, and then his current wife, who is Filipino, comparing his dark black children to his new nice light children. That's not me saying that, y'all. But I don't agree with what he's doing either and how he's going about it. But I'm not going to bash him. I'm not going to drag his name. That's not what I'm here for. I'm realizing that a lot of people don't really know what's going on and how we even got to this point. I know some just because I followed it back when all of this kind of started coming to light back in 2019. And everybody just has their own opinion, calling him trash, they call him a deadbeat, that he's abandoning them. Like I said, I kind of just want to get into that, because what happened for us to even get to this point? And it seems like that the best way to do that is to just kind of just have to go back to the beginning to really make sense of it. Again, let me stress this. I do not agree or condone the way that he's handling this situation. There's a better way for this to be done, but this is not my life. I'm not there. These aren't my kids, so my experience is definitely not going to be the same as his. But I do want to go back and just really see what happened over the course of these last 30 years to really kind of make sense of why we are where we are right now. So take a journey with me. Let's go back. So Brian was born Brian Kelly McKnight on June 5th, 1969 in Buffalo, New York. He was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist, brought up in a two-parent household. He has one older brother. Fun fact, by the way, his older brother, which I believe his name is Claude McKnight III. I think his dad is Claude McKnight Jr., and I think his brother is Claude McKnight III, but he was a founding member of the gospel group Take Six. I don't know if y'all knew that. I knew that, but I kind of forgot about that. I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, he sang in the church choir. His grandfather, interestingly enough, was the choir director and minister of music at his church. So music has always been in him. As with most singers that came up, especially a lot of black singers, growing up singing in the church, that's how most singers learn their craft. When I was a singer myself, that's how I came up. I grew up in the church. I was around it every day. Throughout his teenage years, especially middle school and high school, he did sing in quite a few bands. He sang in other choirs, sang with singing groups. But what's interesting is what I didn't know is that his first love was actually sports. He wanted to be an athlete when he grew up. I think music was the furthest thing from his mind as far as career ambitions go, but as life would have it, he ended up going in the musician route. He got his first publishing deal when he was 18 and got his first record deal at the age of 19 while he was still in college. Well, let me back up some. After he graduated from high school in 1987, he started going to Oakwood College, which is a Seventh-day Adventist university in Alabama. I think Huntsville, Alabama. I may be saying that wrong. While he was at this college, he met and he started dating a woman by the name of Julie. I don't know what the time frame was after they started dating, but apparently an unfortunate incident happened where they both got expelled. They were both at this strict religious Seventh-day Adventist university, and apparently one of the rules is you're not supposed to have people of the opposite sex in your dorm. So I don't know if he was caught in her dorm or if she was caught in his dorm, but they was caught together in the same dorm, and they shouldn't have done that, and so they both got kicked out. It was never confirmed whether she was the one that got expelled with him, because they just said that him and his girlfriend got expelled. But since that's who he was dating at the time, that's pretty much the unconfirmed word, is that she was the one that got expelled with him. And also in this time frame, again, I don't know if it was before or after the expulsion, but she became pregnant and they were married very soon after that. I can say this. When you're that young and you have all of that going on, you don't know whether you coming or going. From the time that he's 18, 19, you got a record deal going, you in college, you got this girlfriend, she's pregnant, then y'all getting expelled. There's a lot going on. And then you're getting married, and then you're married on top of that. That's a lot going on for some 19, 20-year-old kids. That's a lot. And then y'all threw a baby in the middle of that. That's already going to be a lot for him to deal with, I know. And I don't know how that marriage came about so soon. I'm going to make the assumption that, because they're both in these strictly religious households and they got pregnant, before getting married, I'm almost assuming somebody in one of them family was like, no, you need to marry her. Y'all need to get married. I don't think it was I love you and we're going to make this work and we're going to do this. No, somebody in one of them families said, you need to get married. You got her pregnant, y'all need to get married. And for a 19, 20-year-old, I'm believing in his mind that he just wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to do right by this woman that he was with that was carrying his child. I believe that's what it was. I don't believe that it was something that started off in love. It may have eventually grown to that at some point, because it just seemed like when you're young and you're dating, you're not thinking that logical. You're not thinking logically at 19, 20 years old. You're just not. And in the midst of all this going on, he has a record deal, so he's trying to drop an album. So, now that's probably gonna be his ultimate goal now, is trying to get this album off the ground, because now he got a family he got to take care of. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about his kids, because this is who this is all about anyway, is his kids. So from the information that I was able to gather, Brian McKnight has a total of 8 children. This is also including the children that he inherited when he married his current wife, Leilani, and also the child that he and Leilani had about a year or two ago that passed away, because they had a baby before the one that they have now that he has named himself after. They had another child, and that baby died not long after birth. I don't think the baby was stillborn, but basically the baby died right after being born. So he has 4 older children. We've only heard about the 3 older children that he's currently having the beef with, but apparently there's another older child that he has out there. I've seen that his name is Clyde McKnight. Not very much is being said about him. I don't even know if that's true, honestly. I'm assuming it is because I've seen it in several articles. We just never hear about him. So we don't know if he is included in this drama or not. I don't know if he's even involved with the family. I do know that he is around the same age as the 2 boys, and if that's the case, then that means that Mr. McKnight had 2 extramarital affairs. Well, at least he's had 2 children outside of his marriage with Julie, if that is in fact true. Apparently he's a professional dancer, and he's also a professional musician as well. Hopefully he's not a son that's just been forgotten about, and I hope that's not the case. But the 2 children that he had with Julie, the oldest one being Brian McKnight Jr., and then their younger son, Nico McKnight. So Brian McKnight Jr. was born around November of 1989. I remember seeing a happy birthday tweet from years ago that Brian McKnight made in regards to him, a birthday post to him, and it was around November of 2016, 2017, before all this drama unfolded, and he was probably about 27 to 28. So Nico's, I don't know his birthday, but his time of birth would be roughly around 91, maybe 92. So Julie got pregnant in 89. They got married in 90. Around 91, 92, the second child was born. And then also in 92 is when that debut album dropped. So between 89 and 92, they had all that going on. That's a lot. That's a lot for one man to deal with. That's a lot for a man in his 40s to deal with. You got a young man in their 20s, freshly expelled from college with this record deal, and he has a wife and a baby. It's a lot. I can, in a sense, almost empathize with him just from talking about that and just thinking about that in my head. I just know when I was 20 years old, if I had all that going on, I'd probably be in somebody's psych ward right now. Music is probably the only thing that kept him centered. And then you got to think, 92 came. Once that first album dropped, if you were around in the 90s, especially in the early 90s when he was first coming into prominence, he was everywhere. That man was everywhere. Everywhere. TV, talk shows, videos, concerts, tours. He was everywhere. And for all of that to be going on, and then you have a wife and 2 children at home, when are you going to have time to raise your family? When are you going to have time to be there for your wife and family? I'm not in the entertainment industry, but I do know the scheduling and the time that you have to put into building a career. The scheduling is grueling. He's gone all the time. He probably didn't really have a hand in raising his boys like that. The picture that I'm seeing is that the boys was always with their mom. I'm sure they did some things with their dad, but like I said, I just remember how busy he was back then, and I know he wasn't at home. Not like that. Thinking about that and thinking about the divorce and all of the stuff that him and Julie went through years later, that definitely had an effect on them as children mentally. I know it did. And if that's not anything that they talked about, if that's not a conversation that they had over the years, really talking about that, I'm sure that stuck with them. I'm sure it did. And then I remember reading an article. I think it was probably like the early 2000s. I want to say it may have been Sister to Sister the magazine. Either Sister to Sister or Vibe magazine, but I'm almost certain it was Sister to Sister. I loved that magazine back in the day. How many of y'all remember Sister to Sister? I know y'all do. Shout out to Jamie Foster Brown. But he did an interview on that magazine, and he really did. He really showed his true kind of showed his true colors. He did not really seem like a very nice person. You know, he let that real nigger come out of him. And it was just like, oh, it kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Because I remember, you know, reading the editorial comments from like other readers in the follow-up descriptions after that. And they're all talking about how bad that interview made him look. And I can just imagine if that's how he was in an interview, that's probably how he really is in real life. And he probably was not a very nice and kind person to Julie either. And for Julie to put up with, I'm sure, a lot of the nonsense that she had to for as long as she did, because I do believe they were married for about 13, 14 years. I'm surprised she ain't in a psych ward right now. Because there's a lot to deal with. There's a lot to deal with. I briefly had a taste of what being the wife of an entertainer was like back in my 20s. And it was stressful. It was stressful for me, and he wasn't even off the ground yet. But Miss Julie McKnight having to deal with all what she had to deal with and endure with her husband being the big star that he became, and having to deal with his ego and his arrogance. And I'm very, very certain he's had numerous affairs. Well, he got 2 side babies outside the marriage. Ain't no telling how many other cheeks he done clapped back in them days either. It's just inevitable at this point. So, you know, that picture perfect family that we seen in the magazines and on TV and all that was just, I mean, it was a facade. But we as adults know that now. Back then in the 90s when we kids and we seeing all this, you know, we're seeing what they want us to see, and that's not what. But as we're getting older, we realize that really was not the case. And I believe that Julie went through hell. She went through hell dealing with him. I know that's something that those boys saw, especially the older one, especially Junior. He saw a lot. He saw a lot. He heard a lot. And I know that's something that stuck with him as he got older. It's probably something that maybe he tried to heal himself from, and maybe he tried to forgive his dad for. But I know there's something that hurt him, both of the boys, but definitely him because he was older and he saw a lot. I do remember hearing like sometime around maybe 2000, maybe 99, 2000, that he and Julie were separating, or they had separated or something along those lines. I know that around 2001, well, I'm almost certain that around 2001 when Brianna was born, I'm thinking that maybe they were already separated or already splitting up, or that could have very well been the straw that broke the camel's back. Like I said, she'd have been through years of BS with him. There was like already probably one outside baby, so now you got another one. And I think that probably was the time where she'd have said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I know there was a lot of crap that was probably going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. I mean, but for the most part, after their divorce, things seemed to be pretty chill. He went on and made more albums and had a radio show, and I think he had a talk show. Didn't he have a talk show? I somehow remember a late night talk show. If I'm wrong, if I'm right or wrong, yeah, let me know down in the comments, because I think I remember a talk show. But we didn't really hear anything about anything going on with the family or anything like that. I think we all as a whole, as the audience, just kind of thought well, everything just seems to be chill. Like I said, he still had his thing going on. Then I remember around 2015, 2016-ish, they were singing on the road. You know, the boys, Nico and Brian Jr., were singing on the road with him, and they were touring with him. They was doing, I mean, it just seemed like everything. Oh, okay, well, everything's going good. That's good for them, good for them. And then, lo and behold, 2019 comes, and this particular post on Instagram that Brian McKnight made in regards to his stepson. The stepson got him a new car, got him a new booty, a new Charger. The comments, for the most part, seem to be, well, congratulations, good for you, blah, 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 blah. And then the next thing we know, we see a post from Brian Jr. basically blasting his father, calling him a deadbeat and accusing him of abandonment. That's pretty much when the floodgates started. And it has been a never-ending trajectory ever since. Because he came out with his post, and then next thing you know, little Bree came out with her post, talking about she never experienced the daddy's little girl. She never felt love. I'm paraphrasing here. She never felt love. She felt like the stepchildren are put before her. He never came to see her, never talked to her, never called her, never sent her happy birthday messages, things like that. I believe that was a shock to everybody's ears. I think out of all the kids, I probably feel for Brianna the most out of all the kids, because it seems as though she was the only one that wasn't made out of love. Brian Jr. and Nico, they were in a sense made out of love because their parents were married. Their circumstances and how they came to be were much different than hers. She got the short end of the stick on that. When you coming into this world as a side baby, you not gonna get them same privileges. Yeah, she got the money. She got taken care of. She got well taken care of. She went to the best schools and lived in the best places. But no, I believe her when she says that she never received that love. She never got that love from him that she wanted. But unfortunately, when you a side baby, that's the hand that you are dealt. Unfortunately, I hate to say it like that, but it's true. But Daddy McKnight, oh no, honey, he wasn't going down swinging at all. Not at all. He came back. He was like, nah, what y'all not gonna do is y'all not gonna sit up here and talk bad about me and disrespect me after all the stuff I did for y'all. And he came out with a video. And he let it be known in that video what was going on. He did not hold back. Not at all. Check this out.
Here. I've been traveling about 17 hours to Guam. I have a concert tonight, and I got off the plane to some of the most heinous craziness I've ever seen in my life. That my oldest son, Brian, would post that I'm abandoning my children. And the reason why, I suppose, is because I have a new family, and I guess this stems from a post that I made the other day about my son, Jack, who I'm very proud of, which isn't to say I'm not and haven't been proud of my other children, but I was proud of this one for the things that he did that day. We'll get back to that in a second. Anyone who knows me knows over the last 20 years, 30 years now, as a matter of fact, that I've been there for my children every step of the way until recently. And let's be clear, my two sons are 30 and 27, not 12, not 13, but 30 and 27. Now my daughter's about to turn 18. That's another story I'll get to in a second. I've never missed a day of child support. I've never done anything adverse to my children whatsoever. I've always been there. I've always been there with advice, whether they took it or not. I've always been the sounding board, and I've always been the one that tried to help them achieve whatever dreams they were wanting to reach out for. I guess one of my only faults is that I gave my children everything that I didn't have in the hopes that they would appreciate it, because I know how much I would have appreciated it when I was their age. I would tell you, as parents out there, entitling your children is probably one of the worst things you can do, and I know I am guilty of that. For whatever reasons, I'm guilty of that. Tough love is a tough thing as a parent to try to institute to your children, because you want to help them as much as you can, and I did as much as I possibly could. When I stopped doing that for them, BJ was 25 and Nico was 22. And it wasn't like I completely cut them off at that point. That happened much later. But I've been there. When I put them out of my house, I gave them an apartment for 2 years. And I said, guys, this is it. This is the time to grow up. I'm giving you 2 years. I'm going to pay for everything for 2 years, but you're going to have to work or do something, because at the end of those 2 years, that's going to be it. It's time to be men here, guys. It's time to grow up. At the end of those 2 years, they hadn't done any of it. It was just right around the time that Leilani and I had gotten together. Leilani was working at Children's Hospital. And let's be clear, Leilani has been one of the only people who's been an advocate to keeping us together, to keeping us having a relationship because she wants to have the nuclear family as much as I did. And they have spit in her face at every turn. She got them jobs at the hospital, $18 an hour with benefits and with the option of the hospital actually paying for them to go back to school. They said, and I quote, that they knew they didn't want to stop smoking and they would have to pass a drug test. And the day I had the doctors looking into it, Nico's on there, taking a big puff, which is fine. If you want to smoke, that's fine. I'm not saying that that's bad. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But what I'm telling you is that we have been advocates for them every step of the way. Now let's go to the part where we have been estranged. Again, we talk about abandonment. I'm not abandoning them. We are estranged, which happens more often than not in this particular situation. BJ broke into our home a few months ago, and he put X's on the eyes of our wedding photos. And then he put a photo of my first wedding on Leilani's vanity. It was at that moment, and after I heard him say, and was pointed to from other friends of mine that saw his posts on social media, that he basically said that I was better off dead to him than alive. I was more valuable to him dead than alive. And that was the end of me dealing with him. If you look at my Instagram, you'll see that not my last video, but the video before that, 42, the song was written by Brian and I, and it was directed, the video, by Nico. And I went on and I said how proud I was of Nico at the time, and I really, really was. He did an awesome job in that video. Even before that, less than 2 years ago, these are the two gentlemen who stood up for me as my best man in my wedding. So abandonment, deadbeat dad, I'll reiterate, I've never missed a day of child support. I've been there every step of the way. BJ, he talks about Jack's new car. BJ had 3 brand new cars before he was 22. But I'm not talking about material things, because none of this has anything to do with money. It's about respect. Respect goes both ways. And even in family, there's a line that shouldn't and should not ever be crossed. It's crazy to me that people will just believe anything, and I thought it was important to set the record straight and let you guys know that abandonment has nothing to do with any of this. Deadbeat dad, I've been there every step of the way. And let's also remember that these kids are 30 and 27, not 12. It's time for grown men to be grown men. And I'm sorry that tough love happens to be this way. And I do wish them the best. I want them to have and to reach their dreams and their full potential. But like any other man in the world, you got to go out there and you got to take it. As far as my daughter is concerned, her mother, if you look back at my Instagram, she was a part of this family too, with Jack and Julie and Leilani and myself. And unfortunately, along the way, a couple years ago, I got wind that there was an older cousin who was above 18 who was quite possibly having sex with her. So I called, as a father should, to the state office for children's affairs there in Arizona, and I never heard anything back. But the next thing that her mother did was to block all of us from her social media, from her phone, and completely estranged her from us. So what that told me was they didn't want me to be involved in her life that way. So to see the post that she said, considering that her mother only had a child with me for money in the first place, and I'll reiterate this, I have not missed a child support payment. She goes to one of the most incredible private schools in Arizona. So I don't know where this is all coming from, but I thought that I needed to let everybody know that there's another side to this story.
Mind you, this was all in 2019. This was like 4 years ago now? And it's not gotten any better. Nobody healed from any of this. It's only gotten worse. The wedge between the older children and him with the new family, it's drifted that wedge further and further apart. I think my question is, what happened? What happened between he and Leilani's marriage in 2017? New Year's Eve of 2017, I believe, is when they got married. What happened between then and 2019? Because 2017, at their wedding, the boys were there. The boys, and I believe Brianna was there. They were there at the wedding with him, and they looked happy. On the outside surface, everything looked good, but something happened to where now all of a sudden he a deadbeat, he abandoning him, he ain't no good dad. I'm like, well, what happened? That's the $1 million question at this point, because something happened in between 2018 and summer of 2019 where all bets were off. And I'm assuming that's what they need to talk about. It's a conversation between the men that needs to be had that nobody is talking about. There needs to be healing. There is no healing. What I seen in that video of what Brian said about when one of the boys broke into the house and defaced their wedding picture and then put the picture of Brian and his first wife up. It's just like, come on, man. Something happened. Something happened because it seemed like that the blended family thing was working for a while, and then all of a sudden that just ceased, dead and gone. And that's where the healing needs to start. You know, my take on this, like I said, I'm going to stress over and over again, I do not condone or agree with the way that Brian McKnight has handled this situation, but at the same time, what more can you do? What more can you do? He's been there. Yeah, he might have treated your mama like crap, and that was wrong. And you have every right to feel the way that you feel about that. But it seems that everything that he's done, everything that he's built, everything that he's worked for over these last 30 plus years has been for his kids. It's been for them. Yeah, it's for itself, but I want to leave something to my kids. I want to leave a legacy behind for my kids. Pretty much what he's doing for this newborn baby. I know that was the ultimate goal, was to do that for all of his kids when he first started back in the early 90s before that first album dropped. I know that's what it was. And so for the grown kids to come back and to spit in his face the way that he did and disrespect his current wife, and what more are you supposed to do? And in the Angry Man's podcast, he had even said, you know, this is nothing new. This is stuff that the other cultures do. When fathers raise their kids up, especially their sons up, a certain way, they want them to grow up following their footsteps, do the same things that they did. And so when that child grows up and wants to do things his way and not wants to go in the direction that his father wants him to go, or if he just grows up and just becomes a complete screw up, the father will cut you off the wheel and everything. So it's no different. It's no different how everybody is bashing this one man for doing something that fathers have been doing since the beginning of time. And another thing that I noticed in like other comments and in like other videos talking about this, you know, everybody wants to come down on his current wife, Leilani.
Well, Leilani should have stepped up. She should have did more. She should have talked to him.
How do y'all know that she hasn't? How do y'all know that they didn't have this conversation? I don't think she's just sitting back and just allowing this to go on. I'm sure that every time he made an Instagram post or said what he said about, you know, being estranged from the kids, cutting them off, I mean, I'm sure she was there to mediate and to talk. I'm sure she was. Just because we don't see it, that we can't just make assumptions that, oh, well, she's just sitting back and not doing nothing. Y'all don't know. How do y'all know? Like, we know that they were all a close blended family unit at one point. But like I said, the disconnect happened between the men, between the father and the sons. She can have her say in what it is that she feels is not right. But at the end of the day, that's Brian's decision. That's his decision. He the man of the house. He the husband. What he say goes. Like I said, I don't agree. I don't agree with what he did and how he did it, but in a sense, I understand. If my child came to me after everything I done and tell me to my face that I'm basically worth more to them dead than alive, ain't nothing left to talk about. I mean, I hope and pray that one day they can get past this and they can heal before it's too late. That's the thing that I hope for, because once that time has passed and one of them is gone, you can't get that back. You can't take that back. And so I'm hoping and praying for a miracle that one day they can get back to mending that relationship before it's too late. That gets a chance to mend the relationship with all of his children before it's too late. Even though I've personally never been through anything like that, I've seen what that does to families when a relationship or when a bond is left broken and then somebody passes before that bond is fixed, and it can really mess with that other person for a very long time, if not for the rest of their life. So I hope that they get to the point to where they can heal and they can restore their love for each other. With him and all of his kids. Like I said, I hope it can get to that point. But I mean, if not, it ain't nothing none of us can say about that. That's between them. So, well, anyway, that's all I got to say about the matter. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, and let's talk about it. Otherwise, once again, thank you all for being here on my video. Hope to see you all again. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all next time. My name's Cree. Y'all be easy.